If you are building an online business and you really want to use the power of Facebook groups to find all of your ideal clients or customers, but you've been struggling and you've wondered, how am I supposed to name my group? How do I fill my group? And how do I fill it with people who are actual buyers and not just freebie seekers? Kind of a tough equation to figure out, especially if you've been struggling to get it to work. But let me tell you, Facebook groups are still hot and they can still crank out tons of clients and customers. So let's jump in and learn the secret to monetizing your Facebook group. Welcome to the Impactful Entrepreneur Show with Adrienne Hill, a place for online business industry expertise and thought leadership, where you can build the skills, structure, and systems you need to thrive in business and have a lasting impact in your industry. Let's do this. Today, I'm here with Christina Jandali. She is a confidence-boosting, cash-creating business growth strategist who helps online business owners stand out, get seen, and create six-figure plus profits specifically by using free Facebook groups. So we are so blessed to have her here today. Honestly, Facebook groups are, I think, one of the most misunderstood strategies that a business owner can use. And so I'm super excited to dig into this topic. So thanks for being with us, Christina.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We are so excited to dive into this. Now, I don't know if I hear so much conflicting information about Facebook groups. I hear people say, they are the best way to grow your business. You must have one. And then there's a lot of naysayers out there who say, you know what? They're overdone. They're overused. They're out. Don't bother. So what would you say, what is unique about a Facebook group? What makes it a powerful strategy? And why is it still relevant despite people who maybe argue that it's not relevant anymore?
Yeah. So the best way I like to look at a Facebook group is you think about like all your social platforms. When someone looks you up, or you meet someone somewhere or something, you come across someone, or they find you in a group, or they find you somewhere else, or they hear you speaking, what's the first thing they do is like they Google search you, right? We always get into the Google, like, who's this person? And we start socially stalking, like stalking them on social media and stalking them online to figure out, like, just to get to know more about that person. So you think about like your social platforms is kind of like your online business cards. It's like these little points of contact, like window dressing. It gives people the opportunity to be able to see like, make a decision. Do I want to know more about this person? Do I want to go deeper with that person? It's like those first impressions that get to be created. So it's the storefront. Your Facebook group, however, it's not like a storefront. It's like, come on inside my digital living room, like, come on inside and let's hang out. So it's like inviting them into the store versus the window dressing out on the window that you're walking by that's making the decision if you want to actually go in the store. It's entirely different than any other social media outlet or platform because it's community-based and it's about bringing people in. And, the funny thing is, like, Facebook groups are dead, or they don't work anymore, or the algorithms are changing, or this or that. And there's always something. And so I always think it's really important before even going into like the tactical piece or what's the best way to do something is taking a step back and saying, well, what is the business principle that a Facebook group is helping you facilitate? Like, what is underneath all of that? Like, what is it actually doing? Because the fact of the matter is, like, business hasn't changed. When you really get down to its basics, what do you need to build a business? You need an audience and you need to sell them something. Like, it's pretty simple. Like, that has not changed. I don't care what social platforms you're on or what changes online or whatever capacity, that will never change. Those are business principles of what you need to have a business, right? If you're not making sales, you don't have people to sell to, you don't have a business. Simple as that.
Yes.
So we get that point. But then when we take a look at, okay, there's certain business principles that are created that move people forward with making a buying decision. Like, there's psychological triggers that move people forward. So if we think about like the basis of business, and this brings me back to, I remember years ago, I worked in the financial industry, and I remember one of my mentors in the financial industry, and I had been out for lunch with her, and I was asking her like, what was like the key to success? And working in the financial industry, I had the opportunity to work with, the most affluent people in my community, in my space. And I was asking her, like, what is that? And she worked with these people as well. And she says, Christina, it's really simple. It's about building relationships. And I was like, well, it wasn't really the answer I was looking for. I was hoping for some like earth shattering, like this one thing you just need, right? Because we're told like there's always this one thing. But it really stuck with me because people buy, you've heard this before, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So it's a matter of building relationships. And the online space is a really unique and cool way of building relationships in the sense you can do it at scale. You can leverage it. You can reach people all across the globe. You're not limited to like your small, like in-person community, or you're not limited to your city or your town or your state, province, right? You're not limited, country even, right? You're not limited to that. You have the capacity to reach out to everyone. So it's about building relationships. And the degree in which you get masterful at building relationships is the degree in which you start to scale your business. Mm-hmm. And if you're building relationships one-to-one, then you're going to build your business one-to-one. If you build and scale your relationships as one-to-many, you have the capacity to build your relationships and scale one-to-many. So it's all comes down to really building those relationships. And you can't build true two-way conversation and relationships when you're speaking at your people. Right. So you can draw people in by speaking out with them, meaning like, hey, I've got this thing, or would you like to learn 3 steps to this? Or, hey, you've got like this like little teasers, like the window dressing that you have on your social media platforms. But the only way you actually build relationships is to have a dialogue or a two-way conversation, or understand what's going on in the other person's world. And a Facebook group, hands down, is the number one way online to build those relationships, have that two-way interaction, have that two-way connection. And when you're having a conversation in the safe place of your community, in the container of your community, even though you're talking to one person, everyone else is watching that dialogue. Everyone else is in on that conversation. You could take those conversations one-to-one to the DMs. So if we look at the business principles, it's about building a relationship. So instead of looking at, okay, is it Facebook groups? Is it something else? It's like, okay, we want to build relationships. So what is going to be the most effective way to build that connection and build those relationships? And that gets to be the decision. And maybe one day in the future, there's going to be something else that's going to allow you to have that capacity to build those relationships with people at scale and have that ability to leverage at scale. But currently, there's not another option to build in that two-way dialogue, that conversation, that community. And so if we look at that, it's really about the building of relationships. Then we could even get in further and talking about like psychological triggers, about, community and social proof and what other people are doing, which is what you bring into your group. But the foundation of it really is focused on relationships.
I love that. And it makes so much sense. I mean, even as I imagine, like, when you're making friends out in the real world and you meet face to face and you're meeting a friend for coffee, you're going to have a very different conversation in that public place than you are if you invite them over into your living room at home and it's just the two of you, or maybe, a small group of friends. You're going to have more intimate conversations in that living room.
100%. Yeah.
Than you are
absolutely.
In that coffee shop. So that absolutely makes sense. And I love the analogy of it being a digital living room, because not only does it feel more cozy and intimate, but it's also not geographically limited. Mm-hmm. Right? Because it's social media. So for any of you who have been thinking that a Facebook group is not worth your time, we beg to differ here, because like you said, this is the only platform that offers a feature like this that allows you to basically invite someone into your inner circle, if you will.
And people love exclusivity, right? They love being part of something. They want to walk around the room and say like, wow, I'm in the right place. Like these people are just like me, right? And that's where, and so when we're speaking about Facebook is always going to change. Algorithms are always going to change. And when you have a relationship with someone, it doesn't matter, right? It's like saying, if you have a relationship with a friend and you have this core relationship with them that you've built over time, is it going to make a difference? Like, is it really going to make a difference if they have a Samsung or an Apple phone? Is it going to make a difference if they reply to your text immediately, or maybe they're delayed because they're busy in life and they don't respond to your text right away? Or maybe you send them a couple texts before they get back to you. Is that going to change the fact that you've built a strong relationship and a friendship with someone that you've established over time? It's not going to make a difference, right? Mm-hmm. So why are we making algorithms the story as to like why we shouldn't be doing things? Or yes, there's going to be moments where we have better reach and better opportunity. And the newer a social platform is, typically the easier it is to have more reach, because soon they start to realize like, okay, let's give it all for free and then let's start monetizing and charging for it. And so then there's the transition of that. But Facebook also wants people to stay on their platform, which means that they're going to have more people advertising on their platform. So how do they get people staying on the platform longer? Well, Facebook groups are there because people are in the community. They're consuming content inside of the Facebook groups much longer. So it's beneficial to the company. So that is always going to be a perk of recognizing like what's in it for the company or the social media platform, what's in it for them. And is it aligned with that? It's going to make your life a lot easier. But if the algorithms change, it's not going to make a difference. So what? It just means that you need to pivot potentially on your strategy slightly of what you're doing inside of the group, but it doesn't mean that groups are dead and it's not working.
Right? If you know how to build relationships, and it doesn't matter what an algorithm says.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
100%.
So for those who are, maybe they're watching this and they either don't have a Facebook group yet because they were lured into thinking that it's not worth your time, right? Incorrectly. Or they have one, but it's just kind of dead. And they're wondering, the first thing people see when they're looking for a group, they look at the name. Do you have any advice on like what makes a good name? How to pick the name?
So the best thing when it comes to name, and I've got something that I'll share with you after, which will help with the name as well. But one of the things I think about when you want to name your group is don't get fancy with the language or the words and come up with some entirely different, like, when people start doing play on words, and it's like, you expect everyone to know what you mean. They're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Or they have to look at the picture and the banner to figure out how the word plays out based on what the name is. So be clear, be concise, and it should speak to who your ideal clients are or who they want to be. Who they are or who they want to be. You can get a little bit more tactical if you want to speak about a specific topic and you're very niche that way. But typically it's about who your ideal clients are and who it is that they want to be. So the moment that they see the name, they're like, yeah, that's for me. You don't want them sitting there thinking about like, I don't know, who's this for? Is this right for me? Am I in the right place? Does this make sense? Like, let's just be clear and simple and get straight to the point of what they're going to get from being in there.
Well, I love that advice because I see so many people. I get invited to a lot of groups all the time. And I hate it when I see the group is clearly all about the creator, right? And it's like, if you think about it, you're trying to attract an audience, you have to give them what they want, right? So it totally makes sense that you would then name it in a way that either speaks to who they are or who they want to be. Super helpful, super helpful. So now as you start growing this group, right? Or whether you're starting brand new or maybe reviving a dead group or just trying to take a really vibrant group to the next level, what I hear asked a lot is, how do I get people who actually want to buy and they're not just there for freebies? Because I think that's the most common thing I hear is like, there's tons of people in there, I give tons of value, but all they want is everything for free.
There's a couple of things with this. Number one, you train your people on how to behave. And I know that sometimes they'd be like, oh my gosh, no, I don't. This is how they are. This is how they're coming. But you're training your people how to behave. Now, if you just pour in loads of free content, and I see not just even Facebook group hosts, but struggling entrepreneurs burn themselves out because they're pumping out so much content. They're trying to come up with the latest tips, the latest tricks. They want to know the answers to all the things to prove that they know enough, that they're good enough, that they can add enough value. And they burn themselves out from adding all of that content. And they're just pouring all this content. And what happens is they're leaving their people confused because it's like a splatter of paint of information that's blasted all over them. And they're supposed to know how it fits together. They have no clue. And they don't even want all that. They just want to know like, okay, I don't want a million steps. I just want clarity on exactly what to do. Like, what is my next step? What is it that I need to do right now? So if you're pouring a bunch of free content and you're not using your free content to move people, to evoke desire, to evoke demand, to move people towards making a buying decision with you, you're training your people to be freebie seekers. And when you train them to do that, you can't get frustrated when they don't buy because you've made it really easy for them to consume and not have to do anything for it. And then when you do put an offer out, it feels uncomfortable for everyone. It feels uncomfortable for you because they're like, oh, I was giving. It's like, never listen to any. And it's like, give value this many times and then you can like earn the right to sell. It's like, there's no quotient available. It's like, okay, let's just take a look and stat at, okay, what am I going to create? How am I going to create conversation, demand, and desire for where I'm going to lead people, and know that I'm helping them gain the clarity that they need on what they need to move forward versus telling them all the things that I know. And so you want to train your people to buy. You want to train your people to take action. You want to train them, getting people to engage in your content, getting them to like or to comment or to show up in your lives has nothing to do with you. And I know this is hard to, because I know I remember thinking, oh my gosh, if no one shows up, if no one says this, I'm a loser, or people are going to think that I don't know what I'm talking about, or they're going to think like, and trust me, I've been there. I remember having a pop-up group one time and no one's talking. I'm like, okay, this is what I teach. Everyone's going to think I'm a loser and I don't even know what I'm talking about. What am I going to do? And it forced me to get creative. So the important thing is recognizing that getting them to engage has nothing to do with you. Getting them to action is you helping guide them to be the type of person who is going to step up to the plate, who's going to raise their hand, who's going to take some sort of action. It has nothing to do with like how good your post is or anything like that. So being a business owner, it's developing the skill set to have influence over other people. Do you have the capacity to influence people to take an action step? Do you have the capacity to influence people to comment? Do you have the capacity to influence people to take some sort of action step? And you get to train your people to follow suit in what you're inviting them to do, which is a precursor to the invitation for them to purchase. So you train your people. And if you're just giving a bunch of free content away for free without having an idea of how that's going to lead to your paid offer, you're selling yourself short, but you're also selling your people short because you're leaving them more confused and they don't know where to go. So that's number one. The second thing when it comes to freebie seekers is this. There are some people, everyone wants a result. No matter what you teach people or what you help people with, whatever the outcome is that you're going to help people with, everyone wants a result. So if everyone wants a result, they'll want to get to point, like they'll have a problem or a struggle or something that's frustrating and they want an outcome. So for example, my ideal clients, they don't have enough clients. They want more clients. They want the result. So freebie seekers desire more clients. Okay. Buyers desire more clients. So what makes the difference? Well, the freebie seekers are looking at gathering as much information as possible and learning as much as possible. And at the moment where it requires any type of commitment or follow through or stepping into action is the moment they're like, whoa, okay, I better go learn something else. And they walk away. They step back. They're like, well, I want it, but I don't want it that bad. I don't want it bad enough that I'm going to go through hard times. I don't want it bad enough that I'm going to stretch myself to do something that's uncomfortable. I don't want it bad enough to actually get myself into action. I'm not committed. I will quit at the first signs of something showing up that is difficult, right? Whereas buyers, they're not looking for piles of free information. What they're looking for is the right path. What they're looking for is just enough information to be making a buying decision. What they're looking for is knowing that they need to invest their time, effort, money, and energy into getting the help that they need, but they might just not know exactly what that is. And they're doing research to determine and figure out what's going to be that best path for them that they're willing to take. They're ready to jump on, but they're just looking for enough information. And what they really want isn't just like, the 3-step strategy to grow their Facebook group as an example. What they really want is a life. They want freedom. They want to go on vacation. They want to have more time with their kids or their partner. They want to go have fun. They want to go explore. They want to go travel. They want to go live life. So yes, they want the clients, but they don't just want to learn a tactic. What they want is a lifestyle that's going to go with it. And so when you want to speak to your buyers, you've got to speak to like the bigger desire. Yes, the immediate promise of what you're going to help people with, but how does that relate to what they really want? Because it's that bigger vision, that those bigger wants, the lifestyle wants that people crave, that they want, that is going to pull them through hard times. That's going to have them show up when things aren't working out, which is going to have them like dust themselves off if something doesn't work, and continue to have them show up. And so that is who you have to speak to. You can't just speak to, if you're just speaking to like the tactic of the little nuance of a hack that people can learn or a tip that people can learn, you're missing the opportunity to speak into the characteristics or the true wants, those true desires of your people.
That's so helpful. I mean, getting into the mind of the person, what's in their mindset? What are they thinking about? What's driving them? I mean, that's really at the heart of it all. And I know, when you're a coach, you're not selling coaching, you're selling someone their dreams.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And that can probably apply to anything you're selling. You're not selling someone a shake, a weight loss shake. You're selling them their dream of feeling healthy and confident.
Yes. And especially, something like that as an example, right? It's like, they don't care about the shake. They think that what the shake is going to be able to make a difference for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, feeling sexy again. It's like looking in the mirror and being happy with what they see. It's feeling like they can turn the lights on when they're going to get intimate with their partner and not being self-conscious about the way that they look. It's about having the energy to be able to keep up with their kids that are running around like crazy, and still being able to keep up with them and not just relying on like fumes and often like the coffee variety. So it's taking a look at like, what is it that they truly desire? And freebie seekers don't really care about that other stuff. They're good enough with status quo. Like there might be a slight nuisance or something. And it's like, it's good enough. Like, I mean, it would be nice if I had that, but I don't really want it. Whereas someone that lives and breathes and sees that and wants that and craves that more than anything, that's the person that's going to be the person that's going to actually take action. That's going to be the person that's going to take the shakes. That's going to be the person that's going to take the coaching. That's going to be the person that's going to be working on. That's the person that's going to go through what it's really going to take so that they can create that life, but they just can't do it on their own. Right. They need the tools and the support to be able to help get there.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's something subconscious too about if you're struggling to grow a Facebook group and all you have is freebie seekers, but you're not willing to invest in yourself to learn what it takes to move beyond that. There's something psychologically, even if you're not saying it in your videos or your posts, if you're not willing to invest money, your followers aren't going to be willing to invest it either. There's something in your vibe that almost like people can tell. I don't know how to explain why. Like, have you ever experienced that or seen people with that, of that shift of like, if you're not willing to invest in yourself, no one else is going to be willing to invest in whatever it is you're trying to sell.
And you know what I love about this too? Because I think so often, and I 100% agree, right? Because when we feel like there's something, like our intuition is there to protect us. So people can feel when there's something that's off. You can't preach what you don't believe and what you're not practicing. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people, in the online space often are suggesting or saying like invest because then you're going to invest. And then people start like invest a bigger price tag, invest more money and do this. And then you're going to be ready. And I get that, but really understanding what's beneath the surface is making sure that you're aligned with what you're speaking of. If you are teaching something and if you're practicing something, and you're telling people this is the way it is, and you are not practicing that, you're not living that, you're not being the person who is true and authentic. And people can sniff out a fake any moment. People can sniff out a fake. And so I remember even when I first started online, I was getting into coaching and I signed up to this coaching certification. I was actually intending to be a coach. And I was like, this is life-changing. People need to know this. And I remember thinking to myself, well, how can I sell coaching if I've never purchased it? So I did my coaching certificate. I did practice sessions. I realized how much of a difference it was, but I hadn't actually invested in a personal coach for me. And so I made my first decision in investing with a coach saying, I want to be on the receiving end of this. So I know what it's like to receive this service. I also want to be the person that's in alignment with what I'm sharing. So if I'm not willing to do it, how am I going to expect other people to be able to do that? And what happens is if you don't, you have this it's like a ping pong match in your mind of like, I'm saying this, but I'm doing this. I'm saying this, I'm doing this. And it comes through. And so their intuition kicks in to protect themselves from you. It's like there's something that doesn't feel aligned here. And it doesn't mean that you're picture perfect about the things that you do. And I see people talk about this, let's say you help people lose weight. And let's say you're not at your perfect body weight. So what? You teach people about business, but you don't have your business exactly where you want it. It doesn't matter. It means that on your journey, you're in progress of what you're doing as well. And recognizing that if you aren't willing to make those investments in yourself and in your future, then how do you ever expect anyone else to be making those decisions? If you're not a buyer and you're consuming all the free stuff, thinking that you can bootstrap everything together and piece it all together, well, guess what? You're like letting out that vibe to other people. Like, yeah, just bootstrap it, figure it out, piecemeal it together. So you get to lead by example and demonstrate. And so often you think about like, maybe you even had an experience where you're teaching someone something or maybe you've talked to someone about something multiple times. And then one day they say like, I finally get what you mean. Like, I finally get what you said. And so, even kids looking at, you're teaching kids things. If you tell your kids something and your behavior and actions are different than what you're telling them, do you think they're going to listen to what you say, or do you think they're going to follow what you do? right? They're going to
Mhm.
follow what you do. They don't, it doesn't matter. Your mouth can keep on going and telling them everything. And they're like, no. Like, it's like, they're just going to follow your action steps. And the same goes in your business. It's like what's nonverbal is equally, if not even more important than the words that come out of your mouth. But yet we focus so much on making sure we have the right words or the perfect things to say. And it's about how you get to show up. And I know it's like kind of a strange concept to really understand. And quite honestly, I still feel like I'm figuring it out. 6 years later, multiple seven-figure company later, I'm still figuring it out. But it's still like, it's just like the lessons that we get to continue to learn and who it is that we get to show up as and how we get to lead by example. But what I think hands down in the world that we're in, the uncertainty of the world that we're in right now, people crave authenticity more than anything else. They don't want or they don't want fake, fluffy, pretend stuff. They want real authenticness. And that means like being true to your word, being who you say you are, not just on camera. Cause it's like, hey, look, I'm like this on camera. But when your camera is shut off and no one's watching, are you showing up and behaving as the person that you're portraying to be? And when those match up is when you really start to find so much more alignment with attracting in your ideal people, because it's not a facade, it's not pretend, it's not someone else. And I came from a corporate world, and it was ingrained to actually teach you to be different, right? Like in the financial world, let's put on a very professional face and everything is like sophisticated and proper. And then, and then behind the scenes, they're like, woohoo, you'd be going out and having fun. And that would be like, so not what you would project. And it took me a long time to unlearn that and realize, no, like I get to show up 100% fully as me. And that can feel scary, a little bit vulnerable, but that is going to be the thing that's going to create the raving fans and the connection and be building those relationships, not when you're pretending to be someone else.
Oh, I totally agree. And being a recovering corporate person myself, I can totally relate to that. Like you had to be so buttoned up in front of those people and you could never really be yourself. And I think that's what I love so much about entrepreneurship is you truly, the more you step into being who you actually are, the more success you're going to have.
Yes. Yeah. Crazy, isn't it? It's like
so crazy. Just be yourself, you guys. So now assuming like the audience is on board, they're realizing, yes, there's a way to name it. Yes, there's a way to put content out there where it's not just like on Tuesdays, I post this and on Thursdays, right? But like giving people a clear pathway of here's how to get the result you want, right? If they have all those foundations in place, how do they grow this thing? I know tons of people say like, I'm trying to grow it as quickly as possible, but it's kind of a ghost town. Like what's the quickest, piece of advice you can give about growing the group itself?
So 3 ways to grow your group: free, joint venture, paid. Free is all the free stuff, blogging, right? Being on social media, maybe free speakings, all the free things that you do. Free is going to be slower and it's going to take more time. Mm-hmm. That's why it's free, right? Most people aren't going to spend all the time to be able to do that. Or it's just they can provide high quality leads, but it just takes a little bit longer to build up the traction for that. Joint venture is where you partner with other people who are already marketing to your ideal audience. It's one of my favorite ways of growing. So it's tapping into partnering with other Facebook group hosts, other people that already have an email list of your ideal clients, getting on stages, virtual stages, in-person stages, affiliate, joint venture partners, essentially, where you're tapping into already existing audiences. Giveaways can be great examples of that. So joint venture traffic, super effective, can be incredibly fast. Sometimes it can be free and sometimes it can be paid. So it could go either way with joint venture, but it's leveraging relationships, which we're talking about foundation today. And the third is paid. So paid traffic. So you're sending people paid advertising, paid Facebook ads, where you typically would send them to an opt-in page and then on the thank you page, invite them to your group versus sending them, you can't send an ad directly to the group, but you'd send them you'd have them opt in, get on your email list and then join your group. So essentially those are your 3 methods of growth. And if it comes to free, sometimes it's like the thing that you can take action on right now to actually start getting a result right away and get started. Even though it is a longer term strategy that continues to build over time, it's still something that you can apply and do immediately. And I've got a little something for you on that as well.
Oh, perfect. I can't wait to dig in. But I just want to say, I want to add in, I love just the clarity of the 3 elements. And I think everyone's familiar with the free piece. Some people have never heard of the joint venture approach or they're afraid of the paid approach. And so they just ignore that whole half of the equation and they're simply growing it with free only and they're struggling. So I love that advice. And what I love about joint venture, I think is actually my favorite, is like when it comes to PR, right? Like getting your name out there, getting featured or whatever. You don't have to be featured by the Huffington Post or Forbes magazine or right. Like joint ventures are basically creating PR for each other. Right. And it's truly and how many times have you heard in the entrepreneurial circles, we rise by lifting others? And it's almost so cliche that people don't listen to it anymore. But truly, joint ventures is the embodiment of rising by lifting others. Mm-hmm. Right. Because it's creating a partnership, creating PR for each other, and not waiting for some third party to come and validate you, but just stepping up and saying, hey, let's do this together. And what I love is that it comes full circle to what we talked about. Like you said, it's all about relationships. Mm-hmm. So super helpful advice. Thank you so much. So you've referenced a couple times that you have a gift that could help our audience to really get started with their Facebook group. Tell us a little bit more about that. I'm really excited about this bundle.
Yes. So it's the Grow Your Group bundle. This is actually something that we sell typically. So it's yours for free for being part of here. It was my special gift to you guys. So make sure you pick it up while it's free, or we'll have this a unique link as well to join. So what you're going to get. So number one, we talked about naming your group. That's when people decide like, okay, am I actually going to click to join or not? And if they pass your group, guess what? You've lost them, right? So we want to capture them. You've got like that split second to be able to have them make that decision. So there's a naming blueprint, which has a full fill in the blank blueprint to make things simple. Who likes templates? I love templates.
Me too. I love that.
It makes things so much easier. The second piece is the perfect intro post. So how to write that perfect introductory post. Sometimes it can be confusing. How do I demonstrate credibility and likability at the same time? How do I not sound braggadocious? How do I be real? Like, how do I be a human?
Yes.
Right? Like, it's like we get stuck on it. And so there's an example in there and a template to fill in on how to write that perfect intro post. We've had students that have used this that have like had no engagement and then suddenly had dozens and dozens of people responding. So it's something that's super simple and easy that you can apply. And then the third thing is you need to have members. And so there's a 5-step little mini course for you on how to promote and tell people about your Facebook group to be getting those members in. So you can go through that little 5-step mini course to start taking action on those pieces to be getting those members inside of your group.
Oh, I love it. What an abundant gift. Thank you so much. I mean, it truly gives people everything they need. Name the group, grow it as quickly as possible, and welcome people in such a way that they start engaging from the very first day that they're in the group. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. So definitely you guys join us in the Facebook group. We're going to continue the conversation. Any questions that pop up after watching this video, we'll make sure they get addressed and that you can really hit the ground running, growing your Facebook group. So join us there. Thank you so much, Christina, for your time. We so appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Adrian.
All right. See you guys in the next session. Bye. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Impactful Entrepreneur Show. If you found amazing value here, like, subscribe, and leave us a review to help other people find the high value content that we share, and find us on social media so we can continue the conversation. See you in the next episode.